Okay, so just a quick update. I just finished this set from the original chunk of agate. I'm going to call it agate now instead of flint because I think it is basically meeting all the requirements of an agate. It's got layers, it's got different colors, it's got quartz pockets. So it's a piece of agate, and I took a little break, came back, and now I'm going to show you up close what the results are. I think the only one at abo out of this one, out of this set here, is that one right there. I can't remember if that one is. And this one is Modern Tools, but I'm not going to haft that one up, I don't think. I'm going to use these in the experiment. Okay. So just a close-up view. Get it in focus. Alright, so the first one I did, you've all seen this. 163.3 grains. I went ahead and weighed all these. Second one, 185.8. Alright, let's get the real one out here. I'm going to compare the side views to the real one. Right, the real one's pretty chunky. The second one, yeah, this is number 2. Getting a little chunkier than the first, but not quite. The third one here, 177.5 grains. Getting a little closer, I think. Still too thin. Let's see, number 4, 156.9. And I did use the original stones from that 5.5 pound piece. Okay, I didn't cheat and go into the first set of spalls, and you'll see in a minute. One of these, I really had a hard time getting that point out of that piece of stone, but I managed to do it. Okay, so 156.9, that's number 4. They're getting thicker. Number 5, yeah, I had had to use my imagination to get this one completed, and then I went ahead and thought I was being smart and took a big chunk out of the side when I went to thin it down, and kind of messed it up. But anyway, I am going to still use it. I'll still haft it. It still should be very usable for the experiment. I'm going to shoot all these into something. Haven't decided yet exactly. Well, anyway, this is 186.9 grains, and I'm getting pretty close now to the correct width to thickness ratio. Although I don't know, this lump might get in the way of hafting. Anyway, I'll still haft it up. And then this one here, I tried to be really smart and go back to the base and try to thin it out just a little bit more, and I ended up snapping off one of these ears. I'm still gonna haft it. Still gonna haft this like this and see what happens. It should be fine. With enough glue, it should be fine. Before I snapped it, it was 183.3 grains. After, 175.2. So it's still within range. And the thickness, I think I finally got it. Okay. Now, one thing I did notice when I was doing these is that it became easier and easier to get the correct thickness. And it also went faster and faster. This last one took me the least amount of time, this last one here. And I wasn't even paying attention too much to the size or the proportions or the thickness. It just turned out okay. And I think that's what might have happened in the past. I think what happens, you know, since these are not made individually, usually they're made as parts of a set, that as you get better and better at making these, you get faster and faster, and they get thicker and thicker, not because of fatigue, but because it's safer that way, and you can produce them faster that way without failure. You know what I mean? It might not be correct. I mean, the points may actually evolve the other way. The better you get at making the points, and the more you do, the thinner and thinner they get. But I have a feeling that if you're pressed for time, or if you want to make a lot of these, they get thicker and thicker. Okay, just something to think about. Might be totally wrong. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is I am going to make a atlatl, and probably just one atlatl dart for the experiment with interchangeable tips. That way I can reduce the variables so that, you know, there won't be a question of whether one atlatl dart was heavier than the other, caused differences in penetration, or if it was more stiff in spine, and so forth and so on. So I'll just use one atlatl dart with interchangeable tips. I'll make 6 different tips and fire them into a target. I haven't decided what I'm going to use for a target yet. I've been thinking about maybe plywood. Shoot these into plywood to see what happens, or maybe a couple layers of drywall. Something consistent and something easy to get from the hardware store. I'm not going to use foam. Well, I could, but it'd be a very large sheet, because I'm not that good at shooting the atlatl darts. Anyway, I'll figure it out. If you want to recommend something, that's fine too. And then I'll show you the results, the penetration results afterwards. Okay. So I might still use this one down here. This little one. This is from the video. I don't know if I mentioned it already. This is from that last video where there was a big concrete patch in the middle. Well, I ended up just shaving that off completely, but it ended up being smaller than this one. You know what I mean? I said I was going to take off one aside, shoot some flakes in to try to get rid of that concrete. Well, I did that, but I ended up removing a little bit too much. I could still haft it, still use it. It's a little bit thinner than the original, but it'd be interesting to see. I'll do some cutting also before I destroy these by shooting them into plywood or something. I'll cut up some meat or something. Tendon is the hardest thing to cut, so I'll probably get a chunk of meat that has a lot of tendon to see how well it does. Okay. All right, I guess that's it. One more thing. When I was napping, I was thinking about Baker points. Since these are what I think are Baker points, it's very similar to Pedernales points, but Baker points are earlier. Pedernales came after the Baker points. These points were made from between 6,000 to 4,000 BP or BCE, I'm not sure. Anyway, there's a 2,000 year stretch. All right, that's a long time. And then Pedernales is after that. It's like from 3,500 BC or BP to about 2,000 BP. That's another 1,500 years of points that are very similar to each other. That's over, yeah, it's over 3,000 years. And I was thinking, if one napper made, let's say, 100 points a year, I could easily make 100 points a year, I think. Times that by 3,000 years, that's what, 300,000 points? And then when you think about, there's not just one napper, there's maybe hundreds, right? Or 1,000 per year making these types of points. So even if there's 100 per year, you can see how that adds up. It's an astronomical amount, especially if there's thousands of nappers. There are many, many other types of points too, not just these. But anyway, sorry, I got a phone call there. So yeah, if you do the math, for you guys who like the math, you can see that there must have been thousands of these made, maybe even hundreds of thousands of these made. And my question was, while I was napping, is where did they all go? All right, that's it.